Today I'm going to talk about some things that I shouldn't really say or do in the UK as an Americanized expat in Britain. So I had to think about that one, just say it slowly because it can get a little muddling up here. All right, welcome to Across the Pond and Back. My name's Steffi, and here we go with a few things that I have kind of put together that I've seen over the time of being back here, heard or seen that it's not advisable. Even though nowadays I do think that a lot of these things, quick disclaimer really, British and of course European, they see a lot of American media, films, movies, so probably some of these will just think, oh, I know what that means, it doesn't bother me. But I do think, especially for the older ones, the older generation, they might still have not heard them very much. The younger ones would have though. So here we are, number one, blowing me off. So I have learnt stateside that they often use that term as a completely innocent term to say something like, well, the other day my dad was just blowing me off, so I went to college and it's blowing me off. Over here has a completely different reason. So without going into the English semantics, I think it's fair to say that it's not what the Americans use it for, something a little bit more coarse. So my advice is to any Americans visiting and any American expats, if you haven't already caught on to that, I would just refrain from using that term, blowing me off. So it's really funny for me because I see directly two sides of this, and I'm coming from a knowledge base of both sides with all of these terms. So that's what's extra fun for me to do these videos. I really enjoy sharing it with you all because hopefully it'll bring a little smile to your face as it has to mine. So that's the first one. I'm looking at my teacher's notes right away. This is my teacher, but a dear friend of mine in Florida gave me, and it's a bit like planning a video, it's a bit like planning a lesson. So you're thinking about your learning objective. Any teacher friends of mine watching, they'll know exactly what I mean. Think about your learning objective, think about your content. What do you want your viewers to hear, enjoy, or share and learn from at the end, and so on and so on. So it's a little bit like being a teacher with this stuff. All right, so next one. Well, so when Americans say, excuse me, when they might be thinking that they're being extra polite, which obviously they are. Because over in the States, excuse me is a very polite term just to be saying, oh, I'm a little bit in your way, excuse me. It's a very, very nice, completely innocent and genuine term. So unfortunately over here, it's not quite the same. There's a little bit of a tweak here on this. So while some people might just get it completely, other people might think, oh, excuse me, have you just done a loud fart? Have you done a smelly fart? Have you done something like that? You know, why are you saying excuse me? Because that's really more what Brits would use that term for. So if you disagree with me, I'm really more than happy to hear your disagreements or your agreements and what else you've heard surrounding all of these. So I would say, if I was in somebody's way, I just say, oh, I'm sorry, or please excuse me, or maybe I might say that, but I might make sure that they know the context of it. All right, so next one on my little list is, now this doesn't really refer directly to me as female, but if for the men folk, if you're a male coming over here from America, I wouldn't say, hi, my name's Randy. Or actually, no, I ruined that. Don't say, I'm Randy. Because over in the States, it's a normal name. I've heard Randy quite a few times now, but every time I heard it, I couldn't help but smile and think, in England, that means something different again. And it seems like us Brits, we have quite a lot of words that have some you know, more coarser implications, let's put it like that, physical implications. So I know over there Randy's just a normal name. Over here it means, you know, hungry for something. Okay, next one, can you give me a ride? So again, over there in the States, it's a really innocent question. Ride, of course, is very well known now because of, you know, largely because of Americanisms and American culture influencing our British culture and so on. But if you just ask somebody for that, they might be thinking something else, that you might be thinking you're propositioning them. I don't know. But that was one of those that came to my mind, and I thought, okay, that goes on the list at least, just to be careful, really. I don't know how Brits are going to react to those. Nowadays, I would say the younger generation a little bit less stuffy, but we can have some very, very prim and upright British people who would take offence with that. So I would just stay away from it. All right, so what else? Oh yeah, this is a really funny one. I like a shag on a carpet. So in Britain, England, Scotland, Wales, please let me know in Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, because I often term things as being English because I am English, but in no way am I wanting to exclude the local colloquialisms of those countries too, because those are very much a part of the UK. So if you don't agree with that, let me know. But in America, shag means something like a nice furry long pile on a carpet. Guess what? Over here, shag, as far as I know, has its physical connotations, its suggestiveness, it's different. Doesn't mean the texture and design of the carpet. So I would be very careful about saying that, especially being female, but anybody really, unless you really mean it. All right, okay. So the next one might be a little controversial, and it may have changed now, but when British people refer to their friends, they often say mate. So if you go ahead and say that, you might want to be careful with that, that's all, because they might think you, coming from America, might mean something different. It means, look it up. I would just say look that one up. I'm sorry, it's a little bit controversial there. So all of those I would stay away from just to be subtle, diplomatic, and just avoid any confrontations or problems. Right, so I'm just going to throw in a couple of things that I wouldn't do over here, and I shouldn't do, but really more like wouldn't. It's not like they're against the law or anything, but they just seem to be kind of frowned upon or not really appreciated. And I've noticed it's been a strange thing, because when I left here, didn't know anything different really. I enjoyed sitting outside in our porch area in Florida. It was beautiful. It was very nice and quiet, occasional car going past, and when people walk past they would often just look in and say howdy or hiya, how you doing? And I would try and relate to them as well as I could. Now I'm talking about my early days. Later on it was much easier. I was a lot more able to respond in like they do, but at the beginning it was a little bit strange feeling for me. I wasn't used to that directness. I wasn't used to that friendliness. There's that word again. I just wasn't used to it, and so I found it a little bit hard to cope with actually. And of course my British tendency, let's put it like that, to be distrustful, I'm sad to say. So it took me a while to adapt to that, but after a while, when I appreciated their genuineness, most people who would say that, they are pretty genuine. There's always some, isn't there, who are not, but largely I'm talking about. All right, so showing people around the home. This is an intriguing one that really, out of all of these, I just don't understand why. It might be the keeping up appearances type thing that people over here seem to have hang-ups about, you know, keeping up with the Joneses. I'm not sure if Americans have heard that, but I'm pretty sure that they have. Forgive me if you have and you're all groaning saying, of course we have. Sorry. But I tend to, when I'm saying things, I tend to assume that people don't know something, or they do. There's no hazy area. I have a cold. So I want to share this one with you because it's really strange. It's very strange that I've had a couple of friends now who I've really looked forward to them coming over, which they have, and I've said to them, yeah, let me just show you around. They know it's a small house compared to my American house, which was 2,000 and something square feet. This one's like 700 and something square feet. So it doesn't take long to show anyone around this little house. It is very nice and cozy, but it's small. And so I didn't think it would be an issue or a problem, but the friends that I have said that to, they've looked to me a little bit old-fashioned. Oh, well, okay. And I'm just wondering why, because I'm their friend. Excuse me, I have a cold, so that's my excuse. I just don't know why they would not want to have a look. Maybe it might come from embarrassment. Maybe I think it might be this, where maybe they're thinking back in mind, oh, I hope Steph doesn't want me to show me around my house because it's too untidy. It might be that, and I can totally get that. I really get that. So, but it still wouldn't put me off if I was doing that over there in the States. It's something that my hubby actually taught me to start with. Again, he was a huge part of my learning process over there in America, because a lot of these cultural things, they were just new to me. It was new to me to have people in my home, period. Usually, when I was growing up, hardly anyone used to come to our house except if my parents had a special dinner going on, or if we had family staying like my dear Nan, something like that. But just folks coming around to visit, it didn't happen very much, so I really wasn't used to it as an English girl. When I went over there, I quickly learnt my husband was very hospitable. He always was wanting to invite people in, have a coffee or a chat, whatever. So I got used to that pretty quick, whether I wanted to or not. So of course it invaded my delicate English sensibilities at that time. But again, I sure am glad that I grew out of that for the most part. Now, if I was married again and my new husband was very keen on having lots of people around or cooking or whatever, it would depend on the intensity of it or the degree, you know. I'm happy for that to a certain extent. I don't want to say I'd be totally happy, but depending on who they are and how many. But for the most part, I'm happy to do that, to be hospitable nowadays and to provide lunch or dinner. My husband, he will always say, let me show you around, you know, let's show you our bedroom. And I'm thinking, is it really necessary to show people our bedroom? And he would just remark with something like, well, it's not that it's necessary, honey. Honey, sorry, it's not a British accent he's speaking in, of course, it would be honey. But it would be something that he said, I'm choosing to do it. I have freedom in the Lord to share our home with people, and I want them to feel comfortable. Okay. So there we go. There's just a few phrases, words and things that I wouldn't or shouldn't do in the UK. Now there are others as well. There's another one that just comes to my mind. Stateside, do you know what a Johnny is? Anyone who's been in hospital, you might know what that is. It's some kind of gown. I think it's a hospital gown, isn't it? Please let me know in the comments. But over here, it's not anything like that. Again, it has physical connotations, and it's, you could say, an appliance to a physical situation. Anyone want to improve on my definition? British side, go ahead. I'd like to hear that, but I'm trying to avoid using the actual words. But Johnny over here is not a gown. So if you said to somebody, have you got your Johnny? It just sounds so funny over here. It's completely out of context over here. Now, when I move back there, and hopefully I won't need a Johnny, but if I ever did, I would just smile to myself. I would remember across the pond